Greetings, valued poll listeners, and welcome to episode 116 of the Poll List Podcast, your biweekly blast of comics, pop culture, and
116.
faith. I'm your host, Chris Poirier, and riding shotgun with me, as always, is the myth, the legend, the.
Shoddy with the thoughty.
Yeah, you're not coming through at all, so that's cool.
You not hearing me?
I am now. Didn't hear whatever you said, so.
Oh, it's a secret for the listeners.
Mm, yeah, I don't think it got recorded.
I'm
But
recording.
yeah, I know, but you were gone and you didn't touch anything, so.
Mm,
Whatever you said did not happen.
I said I'm the shoddy with the thoughty, but I'm pretty sure it's in there. But either way,
All right, it's there now. But that's the pastor of panels himself, Hector. Yeah, you had to get at least 2 weeks of the pastor of panels.
hmm,
It's fair.
yep.
So you ready for this week's podcast? You've got your mug there of dumpster fires.
My life is a mug of dumpster fires.
Ah,
It's especially dumpstery with a dash of fiery.
well, I don't know about you, but preview for the rest of the show. I did not read a lot of comics, but I read enough comics.
I read everything that you didn't pick. I had I had two that you picked that I probably
Mm,
would have read, but
mm,
I didn't have time, so I didn't.
mm.
Um,
Here we are.
yep.
Yep, we did those things, but we are here cracking open the long boxes, calling out the hot takes, and diving headfirst into the stories that shape the culture that we do so love. So buckle up, true believers, and prepare yourselves for we've got comic sign.
Better put the word out. Get ready for the nerd out. Better put specs on. Better break necks on. I cut handsome checks for my expansion sets. They call me Obi-Wan. Act like you know me, son. Better put the word out. Get ready for
Yeah,
the
bro.
nerd out.
Get Neon Glow. Hector's like, no, I'm not doing the bit,
Break necks on.
but he is doing the bit. On today's episode of The Poll List, we've got a stacked show lined up for you. We're breaking down the latest comic book news, which is mostly what Diamond is or isn't doing today. I was literally commenting in the pre-show that on some of the news sources that we go to, all of the entire top half of their website right now is Diamond news from just today, the day we're recording. So good times. That's a thing. But we're also going to go through all of our picks from the last 2 weeks, spotlight our favorite new number ones, which I actually had a couple, but I definitely have one that's kind of dope. Diving into even more. What? No, you don't agree? Fine.
I read one number one to check the box, and I had another one as a backup, but even then, I don't think it was going to be dope.
Ah. Well, I mean, let's save it for the podcast. We can see, but this is the polar time. News. It's Diamond. Moving into our picks. No, just kidding. Um,
We can literally do that. Let's keep going.
it's so crazy. I'm gonna end on Diamond because I every week we sit down to record. I'm like, this is going to be over, and it's not. And it finds new and creative ways to not be over. Um, I found someone that actually kind of gave a short breakdown of what this crazy timeline is. So I'm going to go through it quick at the end because it makes your head hurt. Whatever. So I want to talk about a few other things first. First of all, we kind of talked about. I think it was last episode. We did talk about kind of what some folks are doing in terms of like digital first or IDW actually going and partnering with Webtoons to try to get a different audience and things like that. Well, there's some of the other independents are trying an entirely different approach to their digital strategy. And Mad Cave, who's kind of been sneaking onto a lot of people's poll lists lately, they've been doing
If
some interesting stuff.
if they would have done digital, I would have bought more.
So stay tuned.
Okay,
Mad Cave
I'm legally required to.
You stay right here.
I'm
Stay in that
recording
seat.
this. If I'm not staying tuned, you probably ain't seeing anything.
There's no show. Mad Cave has developed their own digital storefront, so kind of like Diamond back in the day. A lot of places now, instead of throwing everything at Comixology or other kind of collection points, Kindle is kind of the only collection point at
Yeah,
this
really
because
is.
Comixology is technically the back end of that whole thing, but they've pretty much shot the thing dead. Otherwise, Marvel has their own, DC has their own, Image, I think, has their own. But anyway, everyone's like developing their own thing, and there's a few companies out there that are helping them do that. Mad Cave's like, yeah, but we want to bake it into our website and all of our content releases and everything. And what some of these places are doing is not just that you can buy and or subscribe digitally to their stuff, but if you are a good loyal Mad Cave reader, you will get things early. You will get sneak peeks. You can buy issues individually, or you can buy entire series. Their goal, and what I'm hearing from a lot of these other places, is also to create an environment where it rewards the community slash the subscriber. So they're trying to create environments that basically, like, I'm waiting for it, but it's like the meow meow beans of comic books of basically, if yeah, like half of you got that reference, the other half just kept going, and that's fine. There's ways that you engage as a community and you're going to get rewarded for it, is the short version. I don't know entirely how that plays out, but that's kind of the discussion that they've had. So I guess go to their website and check it out. So, but they're not the only ones I've heard talk this way. I'm hearing a lot of the publishers directly want to create their own communities and digital communities explicitly, so that they can do things that they might not be able to do physically in every single store, which I get. That's hard. I've worked with Valiant was really good at this back in the day, of giving loyal readers and stores that supported them like tons of exclusive stuff in a timely way that you could actually get it back out to the fans and everything. So I don't know what it's going to look like, but I'm curious to see how it plays out and if it does what they think it's going to do. Because new ways to engage readers is always good, but of course, everyone and their cousin immediately slap them publicly and win. But retail, and like, guys, I get it, but I also, you have to look at these companies and the markets and the age groups that they're trying to get onboarded as new readers. You have to do a both and strategy now. I don't think there's any other way to do it. You have to embrace the devil that you know at this point in terms of digital, because you're going to eventually get left behind. So I shed a tear slightly there, and I don't think that digital is ever going to murder the retail store, because physical community is still a thing. And most stores that are succeeding right now, that's what they're doing, and they're doing well. Is they're built, like Free Comic Book Day is coming up. It's going to be behind you when you hear this episode, but it's coming up for us. You've heard Hector talk about
Free Comic Book Day is always behind you, lurking, watching
Waiting.
and waiting for you to crease a page.
It's going to follow you all the way back to your car.
Yes. And then judge you for
Yes.
what you pulled.
It's going to sit there and go, you took one of every single kid's book, even though you're absolutely never going to read that. And you're going to, you think you've collected something, but you really haven't, because literally every child has 2 copies. But here we are. People are amazing. So stay tuned. I think there's interesting things going on there, but I'm going to take that segue point into Free Comic Book Day.
Go ahead, Paul Blart.
Yeah, so
You said
DC's
segue.
yeah, I know. Stop. Please don't. DC's doing something really weird. Speaking of digital and Free Comic Book Day. On Free Comic Book Day at 12:01 a.m., the DC Free Comic Book Day books will be available digitally.
For free?
That's my
What?
understanding.
What?
And hours before anyone will ever touch the physical copy at a Free Comic Book Day event.
Okay.
So going back to what we were just talking about, I'm like, okay, that's all right, you're gonna reach some people you wouldn't otherwise necessarily touch um,
I don't ever have
digitally.
time to get free comic book day books.
Yeah,
Like
I
I
feel
do a
you.
mini con on free comic book day, and
Yeah,
those are
we'll
always gone.
we'll talk about that in a second because I saw something that and I saw your thing and I want to have a chat about that because
I think I saw what you saw too. So
I've been interesting. I didn't see that he posted it publicly, but yeah, we'll get there in a second. Because I think it's worth a short conversation. But yeah, it. I feel weird about Free Comic Book Day was created to literally put low cost, smaller comic books into retailers' hands so that they could get people to physically come to a comic book store to learn about comics. And people go, oh, wow, these are really cool. I would like to subscribe to all of them and keep the economy going. And it actually was a thing that I believe I got the order of this correct that Record Store Day actually was first. And comic books went, that's interesting. Um, I'm pretty sure I got the order of that right. Um, I might have it backwards, but I think that's actually one of those things. But you have both of those things because the idea is to go get something exclusive and interesting at a physical store so that you can keep places like record stores and comic shops alive. So releasing them all hours beforehand digitally feels like a really weird flex. um, I guess if your ultimate goal is to get people to read comic books, then okay. If you don't care about how you're getting your money for doing so, then it's probably a solid move because usually free comic book day books are previews, but 99.9% of the time they're usually reprints of something that you've already seen. Um, so that it didn't cost anybody really any money to do anything.
well,
Um,
I also don't think it's terrible to do a free comic book day digital. Just in addition, because nobody, for the most part, nobody's getting everything.
yes, that is
And a lot of shows I've seen, or stores and shows, have been doing it where you get like one free comic and then you pay 25 cents for each other one
yes.
or something like that. The only one I ever saw that just did it to the most beautiful way possible was um, Not Yours.
What?
That I saw. I've never even been to an Ultimate Comics.
Oh, you should because no, you can just get one of everything.
Yeah, yeah, they don't love me. Um, but that's the
That's
thing.
that's why ours was usually such a big deal is that no, you could literally get like in years past, there could be a stupid number of books. That's the other thing is this year it's like a third to a quarter of the normal amount of books that are available. Um, yeah.
Yeah, Faith
But
and
go on.
Fandom's
Now,
first event ever was at Free Comic Book Day and Apocalypse Comics in Myrtle Beach
got you.
in
Mhm.
2014.
Back in the Disney.
And yeah, and uh, everybody could walk away with a bag of 75 books that day. And it was pretty great.
That's a lot of books. So, yes.
So, what did you see that you wanted to?
Yes. So, on that note of you talking about a mini con on Free Comic Book Day, um, some owners are questioning the motivations of those that would host a comic book centric event that is designed to draw people away from stores on a day that is designed explicitly for stores.
So, I hear that, and I get it. I get why some stores would want beef with that. But what I've seen con wise is that there are these cons that are doing it, do are free cons.
Mm.
So the con is free, and you're a lot more likely to get a whole group of people to come to a free con than just to a free store
Yes.
because you've got more options and things like that. And one of the things that I think that they do is they pool their free comic book books.
So from a fan perspective, I absolutely agree that that makes sense. But from the real retail, the point of Free Comic Book Day is to get subscribers, not just get free books or go to a one-off that is occasional. That the goal is that people realize, oh, comic book stores have things that can be bought on a more frequent basis than a con that you would go to once a year, once a quarter,
Well, guess what though?
etc.
You can if you really want people at your store, then you go to you send one person with a table to the free con, set up, promote your show, or promote your own store, and say, hey, if you're local to this town, come on out and we've got this for you as well. It can be a plus. It doesn't have to be a negative. It's not a PP contest. Um, sorry, Matt, if you have to edit that.
And yet, and yet. Yeah, I think the big thing is that a lot of the folks that I saw kind of throw those comments out into the ether are stores that their free comic book day event is the level of a mini con in and of itself. So they're not going to put effort into even sending one of, like for us, it was all employees on schedule and volunteers to run the day. Um, because yeah, um, every free comic book day was the most insane day of retail I've ever worked, including working Black Fridays in shopping malls back in the before times at like electronic stores, like the most insane just sell through of anything and people being in my door of we would open the door and start checking people out and I'd be checking people out past 7 o'clock that night. Um, it was wild. I loved working free comic book days. I've volunteered a few times here in town just because love it.
What sucked though is that one time free comic book day was in August
I missed that one. So
because
yeah.
of COVID or
Yeah.
whatever. That was lame.
And everyone agrees COVID was lame.
Yeah, that part.
So to the thing that I said that I was going to talk about ad nauseum. Diamond can't make up its mind, or the world can't make up its mind about Diamond. One of those two things. We've been going back and forth on all the different pieces and everything. I'm going to catch everyone up in as quick a way as possible, and then add on all the stuff that literally happened today. Um, so all of this nonsense started all the way back on March 25th. It's been a month of well, just getting to the auction since their announcement of bankruptcy and everything. But um, on March 25th is when all the nonsense started because the bidding had happened. They had selected Alliance, or Alliance won the auction, and yeah, so that was March 25th. March 26th, Image Comics files their lawsuit over all of their disputed contracts because they were like, hold up, we're owed way more money, and you can't just buy our agreement when lots of money is still owed. April 7th, Alliance sued Diamond after Diamond then tried to change the bid to the backup bid over them, who had already been declared the winner, just claiming that the deal's better and it works out for everyone. So Alliance sued them over that, and on the 11th, a judge said, yes, Alliance, you're the winner. April 17th rolls around. Diamond reveals that Alliance, despite previous assurances, reveals to Alliance that despite previous assurances, their contract with Wizards of the Coast, so Wizards of the Coast is D&D, Magic the Gathering, all that cool stuff. Part of Alliance's fight for all this was for that contract as well. And they find out that Wizards of the Coast had told Diamond to pound sand back in December on all current agreements and backgrounds and everything. So this is now the second contract that technically Diamond's like, here, this is part of the deal. And it wasn't. April 21st, a conference call with Wizards of the Coast confirms that no, absolutely not. April 25th, Alliance terminates their purchase agreement. So we talked about that last time, and said, nah, we out. I'm sorry. There was some back and forth, and so that happened just after we recorded. So Alliance said, nah, we out. And I believe in that same agreement, from what I saw, that someone very senior at Alliance also lost their job because everybody learned about it in an SEC filing, changing a C-level officer, that this deal had fallen through again. On April 28th, a trustee from the government who helps oversee bankruptcies,
The government.
the G-men, moved to convert bankruptcy to Chapter 7, which is full liquidation. That they're like, nope, Diamond hasn't been doing their required reporting for the last 3 months, which means we don't even know who they owe what to, and what they've been doing, which is part of a Chapter 11 requirement. And Diamond's like, oh, no, 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 no. On the 29th, they finally said, no, no, our bad. Due to some unfortunate and unavoidable circumstances, we weren't able to do the required paperwork that ensures that we don't get liquidated at bottom dollar prices. To which the entire world went, then what the crap have you been doing for the last 3 months? Later in that same day, Alliance turns around and sues Diamond for fraud over the Wizards of the Coast thing, demanding their nearly $9 million deposit for buying Diamond back instead of forfeiting it when they just said, nah, we out. That's the end of a list that got put together yesterday. In Showtime, it is the 30th. So that was yesterday. Today, Alliance basically continues their lawsuit. The courts come back and said that the backup buyer now can buy Diamond, but now at $20 million less than the original asking price. So almost a quarter of the asking price has been lopped off in the last 24 hours. Immediately following that, Alliance filed another lawsuit to block that sale pending them getting the other thing squared away. And I think there's only been like 2 other articles since literally we sat down. So I have no idea what's going on.
Like you said at the beginning, Diamond.
Just wow. And I was talking with another friend this afternoon who's very close to a bunch of this kind of stuff, and he goes, he's like, let's talk brass tacks. He's like, look, what's happening right now is a bunch of millionaires fighting over who's going to get the best golden parachute. Full stop. Everything else is going to eventually work itself out. A bunch of smaller shops are going to take it directly on the face, because what I've seen just talking to some of my shops, that Diamond gave them the best buying terms to spread out their credit, which is most likely why Diamond is in bankruptcy. And most of the other distributors require their money up front, in advance, or literally cash on delivery. That to get any net terms of buying stuff from any of the others, you have to have super well-established credit. Diamond basically let the entire comic book industry get away with, I'll pay you next week if I can eat some cheeseburgers today. So for most people, it's not shocking that Diamond literally didn't have the finances to make all this work and make sense. But the true unfortunate is going to be some of the smaller shops. But ultimately, in the middle, things are going to probably be okay. It's just going to take some time to work it all out. And oh, by the way, the company that's the backup buyer is the same company that owns Ruby's Costumes, Party City, WizKids, and NECA Toys. They have the weirdest portfolio in the world, but whatever. Yeah. Most of their stuff is literally party stuff and Halloween costumes. You're welcome. But that said, they've got a pretty massive distribution network because of all those things. So interesting, but there you have it. Diamond's weird. But the other main thing from talking with my bud that we kind of came back to is, on paper, the comic book industry is actually stronger this year than it was last year already in quarter 1.
And the absolute Batman and his big old chest.
It's because absolute. So you're going to hear literally every other comic book website, etc., say it's another failing year in comics. There hasn't been a down year, bottom line, for overall comic book industry in a while. And everyone loves to do the sky is falling in comics, but the truth of the matter is things are actually looking pretty strong. Um, us looking into a summer with what is currently being billed as probably a strong re-entry for the MCU, um, for movies, small screens doing really well again, and we'll see how the summer events go. But overall, there are more indie publishers publishing right now. More independent stories are being published right now. People are buying comic books digitally and in stores. So be chill. It's all good. Things are going to be okay.
If I can sell a couple hundred comic books about awkward church life, y'all can do it.
You can do it. See, Pastor of Panels right there getting it done.
I do. I did. I
Um,
remembered a news thing
oh,
before we move on.
hmm.
Um, recently, since we last recorded, was the Mania of Wrestles.
Yes, it was the media. Yes, the mania did occur.
And I don't know if you saw or if you're following this or see anything with it. Rhea Ripley, who is considered mommy to some, uh, mommy is always on top. Um, that's her phrase.
Yeah, yeah. No, I
And
got you.
mommy is always on top. Wait, I just went to a Peaky Blinder. I don't know what happened there. Couldn't do Australia. But anyway, um, she came out in her WrestleMania gear, which was inspired by the Batman Who Laughs.
Oh, mhm. She had a couple different outfits from what I recall. There was a Kim Possible in there, and there was something else as well from what I remember seeing. I don't follow wrestling as closely as some of my other comic book brethren, but it's worth noting here in the news section that if you did not know, the world of comic books and professional wrestling overlap about 75%. I'm apparently in the 25% that's not cool enough, but
It took
almost
me forever, like, to get there, and it was
I have
mainly my
literally
kid.
had friends sit me down at MomoCon last year. I actually sat down with a really good friend from North Carolina, and he's like, "Wait, you're not one of us?" And literally ran me through like the best of stuff, and was like, "Now?" And I'm like, "I get it now, but I still need time." um, and but if you go into a comic book shop or at cons, if you hit either of those two things, you're fine. You're good. You're golden. Like everybody, like I said, I feel like it's a 3-to-1 um, ratio of professional wrestling fans within the comic book space. It is wild. Um, so if you don't know what to talk about with the creator and you don't want to be like super fangirling in front of them, ask them who their favorite wrestler is, and they probably have an answer.
Well, it's like I had one of my most fun organic things about a year ago when I was at Smoky Mountain Fan Fest, and Juice from Sons of Anarchy slash the dude from Penguin and Luke Cage, um, like just walked up to me, went yeet to my shirt, and then like pulled me aside to talk about Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso, and I'm like, why is Juice talking to me?
What is happening?
Yeah. But yeah, she came out in a full uh the Batman Who Laughs gear, which is pretty great. So
That's kind of wonderful.
I know. Thought it was
So
pretty dope.
yeah, there you go.
There's the
And
news.
that's the news. That's the biweekly dose of insider comic book industry goodness. Everything you need to know to stay in the know. As always, you can jump into the conversation with Hector and I occasionally, and all your fellow nerdy friends over on the Love Thy Nerd Discord. There's a comic channel in there. Share what you loved, what drove you nuts, or
I've
even what might
forgotten
come.
everything I've already learned about Discord. Like I don't even know if I could get into my own Discord right now.
Hector might never be there again, but I look occasionally. Um, you're,
I have some notifications. I know that
yeah.
those are there.
So it, yeah, just know that your geeky adventure probably starts over there, and we just want to go on that journey with you. I mentioned this earlier. It's something community. Um, it's really what makes the comic shop a world and just
I
comics in general.
saw a real commercial for the Glue Network somewhere,
Ooh,
and I was like,
which we're
"Oh,
which we're also on.
which we're on." And I was like, "Hey, that's a commercial for a thing I'm on."
Yeah, I'm on that
Thanks,
television.
Glue.
Yeah, I'm on the television because of them. GLU. So yeah, let's talk about some comicses then. You know, the things that actually don't suck. Well, they occasionally still suck, but Yeah, yeah. Again, independents are writing some really great stuff right now. That's what I'm
So
here to tell
I'd
you.
like to make a note that I made it into a comic book shop for the first time in 6 weeks,
I'm proud of you.
and it was underwhelming.
This is why we can't have nice things, Hector.
I'm sorry. Um, but yeah, just because it was like I was hoping for more fun things to find, but I couldn't find the fun things. Um,
So to be
there's,
fair, I think I told you I literally only picked up 10 books from the last 2 weeks.
well, I don't think I'm much past that. Um, hold
I'm
on.
thankful I was able to find five for y'all. That's what I'm
Three,
saying.
4, 5,
It
6,
is one of the smaller piles that I've purchased recently.
9,
And that
10.
included picking up every number one that I saw.
I got 12 when one of those was digital, so I could have a number one.
Fair.
All right. So we doing the comics? Is that
Hmm.
what we're doing? Cool.
Hit me.
Um, number one, I'm gonna go with World War or One World Under Doom, number two.
Hmm. Hmm.
Last time I uh did the Fantastic Four that followed this one, where Ben Grimm was turned human. This one actually has the beginning of that process,
Ah,
but this issue is just dope writing for Doom. This is the Fantastic Four trying to punch their way through the problem. Meanwhile, Doom is literally on a simulcast with the whole world solving all their problems. He's like, hey, we've eliminated borders. Everybody can go everywhere. Find work where you can, find love where you can, find peace where you can. The world is free to roam. And they're like, what? And they're doing like news stories with people like, this is the first time I can visit my family. This is the whatever. And like, you've got the heroes like in the whatever base they're in trying to figure out how do we punch this guy? And he's literally out here solving the problems.
so one news story that I kind of skipped over was there's a discussion on is Doom a better anti-villain or villain? And there's a growing group of people that say this is ruining Doom. And even though I'm not reading it, just listening to what you've been saying, I was like, I don't know if that's true. It's like I feel like, or they are setting something up that is going to be so obvious by the end.
Well, and what's the Fantastic Four niece or daughter or whatever that Doom considers his godchild?
Oh,
It's something Valeria,
that sounds right.
Vicky, something. Either way, whatever that V kid is. I've got the book in my hand. Go look it up. Um, hold on. Valor. No, it is Valeria. Oh, I thought I made that up. Valeria Richards. Um, like part of this is while the Fantastic Four is off doing their "We Want to Be Heroes" vibe, Valeria straight portals to Doctor Doom and has a loving conversation. She's like, "So, what's your big end game here? What are you trying to do?" He's like,
What what's going on?
and he says, "Listen, um, I'm honest with you, and I'll always be honest with you. I'm doing this for one reason." And she's like, "What is it?" He's like, "Glory." He's like, I've pursued glory in many facets, but he's like, I've come to the terms of being awesome. It's the best way to get glory.
That's so
and,
good.
and
The best way is to be awesome.
he says it in a much more sanctimonious, got your cape
That's
up your
that's kind of
wazoo.
like you're standing there like, it's not wrong.
Tell me exactly what you were planning. Um, he's like, he shows around. Okay, so here's the actual dialogue. Um, he says, until Doom, our world was a confusion of 200 competing nations, Valeria, each fighting and scheming for their own self-interest and no authority to bend those impulses to useful ends. It was the very definition of anarchy, and by your own admission, it should never been tolerated. And Valeria comes back. That may be how you sell it to others, but I know it's not how you justify it to yourself. Don't tell me you're doing this for humanity, and don't say you're doing it for me. The truth, Uncle Doom. And he says, the truth, Valeria Richards, is simple. It has always been simple. I seek glory. There is no greater motivation, no greater proof that my efforts are sincere. In uniting the world, I've already done what others have long said was impossible. Um, Fascism builds Its foundation upon a lie, Valeria. My rule is founded upon truth. That Doom is the best of the us and the only one qualified to achieve the great unification. He's like, I'm doing all this to show how awesome I am. Gang, gang, News 11. Um, and that one was dope. Now, I immediately read Doom, World War Doom 3, or World War Doom. It's all the same things. Um, this is just
which thing is this again? Yeah.
This is the DC book. Um, is it Kingdom?
What?
There's a book, and I've got it. Justice.
Mm.
There's a DC book called Justice, in which the villains solve all the world's problems. And they're like, why? Why would you do this? Why haven't you done this before? Like, Poison Ivy ends hunger. And all the villains, like Captain Cold, creates glaciers to like funnel rivers into dry areas, and they solve all the world's problems in about 3 days. And they said, if we could do this now, why haven't your heroes done it? And it turns into this whole thing of, so this is literally just the DC book Justice, but with Doctor Doom, but it's good. But the third issue was not as good.
Not as good.
And you know why it was not as good?
Mm.
Because it was the heroes.
Womp womp.
The heroes have partnered with a cabal of. Okay, it's one thing when Marvel steals from DC, like what I think this concept is. It's another thing when Marvel steals from Marvel. Because in this, the heroes partner with a rapscallion group of bad guys to bring down the one threat that they can't take on their own. And this is just Civil War. This is Civil War with the Thunderbolts.
I was going to say it's Thunderbolts.
Yeah, it's Thunderbolts. But they bring in like Arcade and Egghead dude, MODOK, and they bring all the big thinkers to come into the room, and Baron Mordo and some other people to try and outthink this. So while they're punching stuff, the big brains are trying to do whatever. And Arcade manages to get one hit on Doom, which is more than anybody else has done. And then they do this deep dive analysis of, like, they try to hack his magic. So Scarlet Witch, Mordo, and a few other are hacking his magic to see, like, how deeply he's magically influenced people, to see how much of this is mind control. And they're like, none. He's influenced no one with magic. He just managed to use magic to be everywhere at once, so he could communicate with everybody and individually have conversations to bring peace. So the only thing he did was give himself more opportunities.
Boo this man.
And that's what they're doing. And like, they're like, but we should punch him.
But I'm here for the punching.
And that's where it's at. So One World Under Doom is still growing to be good. There's also the Fantastic Four follow-up to more time with that, and the Fantastic Four once again defeats themselves by being petty. Carry on.
Nailed it. So the
This is one
Batman.
I didn't read because I saw it on your list before I got there.
The Long Halloween, The Last Halloween, number 6.
These titles are about as bad as my book titles.
Right. That said, this is still good. And we left you hanging last time with Robin taking a bullet. He took one in the shoulder. He's fine. So, but they use that as a plot point of, well, whoever shot him clearly knew where he was being shot, took him out of commission for an exact period of time, and progressed the plot by about half a book. So we still don't know who's actually repeating the crimes here this time around. We're still kind of on that journey. Most of the Robin getting shot thing was to establish Bruce being the Bat Dad and being like, "It's too dangerous. I'm sorry, I failed you," and that kind of stuff. But it's great. Poison Ivy's involved now. She's created plant zombies out of people. I don't know. She made Catwoman attack Bruce using some type of mind control slash plant thing. And then she eats a bullet by the end. So, everybody's getting dead. We're working our way to everybody being dead by the time that this is over. And look, it's still pretty, even though, it's technically different every time as part of this little journey. But like old school cat's still kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I'll go back so I can show you Robin with a broken wing. No. Uh, I'm pretty sure they set that up literally just for the entire. He basically is doing the Bruce doesn't actually care about me, and Alfred does the of course he does, more than you could possibly ever imagine. But that's because he hasn't had a Robin that got his head beat in with a crowbar by the Joker yet.
So on that note, I'll go on to my book, which is another Jeff Loeb book about a Robin who got his head beat in with a crowbar.
And literally had the opposite conversation, which I thought was kind of funny.
First of all, this book isn't on my list because I loved it. This book is on my list because I'm suspicious, and I'm eyeballing
Right?
this.
Okay,
Like,
that's fair. Go on.
and let me just say, and I'm saying it with all the love I can muster for one of the man who I think created one of the best stories ever, many of the best stories ever, honestly. But he also wrote Heroes, so
Ah,
you can't write Hush than Heroes, my boy. Come on. Heroes had its moments, but not all of it. But anyway, this is the story of or let me just say this. I don't feel like the resurgence of DC Jeff Loeb that we've gotten has been great.
poor Jeff.
Now, but my problem is I would be much happier if they just gave Jeff a new story to tell. Give him some original content. Give him
Holy crap!
what, are you just realizing they're just rehashing their old books?
Yeah,
Yeah. Let Jeff do some Tom King-ish. Give him a new character he hasn't written yet. The only thing Jeff Loeb has done is come back to re-beat the dead
revisit,
horses
yeah.
he dragged his mother through the desert with
In a coffin.
in a coffin. But literally, Jeff Loeb is back in DC and he's only rehashing old stories. He's giving us the Long Halloween, which is okay.
But it's the last Halloween.
The devil it is. And this Batman Hush book, like,
yeah,
outside of it being a little more savage, and this was a Hush book with no Hush in it.
right. But it did something else.
What, established Jason and that?
No, the
Or-
end of the book.
What do you mean by what? What you talking about, Willis?
Actually, everyone made a big deal about this because of his new look.
Okay.
Come on now. Who has a new look? Not a very good one either.
What are you talking about?
Riddler.
Oh man, that was ghetto as crap. He looks like an Arkham Knights villain that you'd beat up on the street. He looks like a Riddler goon, not Riddler. Get out of here, that garbage.
Oh no,
Freaking
there were a couple news articles about this was a choice.
looking like Jensen Ackles trying to be the Riddler. Okay.
Look, I don't like this version at all. Like the what was it? The Riddler War or whatever it was that Tom King wrote, like that version with the bowler and all that was dope. This, I don't know.
And here's the thing. You're telling me this is the same Riddler from Hush?
Right?
Come on, bro.
Now Yeah, that's why I'm kind of like I see what's going on here, and of course we have Hush the animated version like floating around in the back of my head too, and I'm just like,
No, we don't speak of such things like an extremely goofy movie. It does not get spoken of.
it does not get spoken of.
But and also to just throw on the fact that we're rehashing dead properties or long good properties, I hate that this is a 20-year story continuation that ignores all the growth and changes of the DC universe in the last 20 years, but just acts like they happen without any addressing. Tell me in what universe we go from Barbara Gordon just being Oracle and Hush to being a full blown Batgirl again.
In the Watchtower, doing her Oracle stuff.
Yeah, but in the Batman costume and the Batgirl costume. Like,
Mhm.
if we're picking up the Hush storyline and this isn't just canon, because is this canon? Because I don't
It
know.
it's in the main line.
I get that it's in the main line, but it ignores some heavy garbage, bro.
Mhm.
And like the conversation with Jason and Bruce, it feels like someone who's not read a Red Hood storyline in 20 years. It doesn't feel accurate. It doesn't feel like it's a good representation of where the character is, and it ignores all the progress that we've made. Like he's
Yeah,
just
it
like,
literally boiled it back down to getting your head bashed in by with a crowbar.
listen, this would be fine if this story happened a week after the first book, or even a year. If this was Hush 1 year later, fine, I'll take it. But to be 20 years deep of Jason Todd stories, and this is as petty as we're being, hot garbage. Hot garbage.
You're telling people why to read this book.
Well, here's the deal. I want to be wrong.
Mm.
I want to get to issue 12 of this and giving a standing ovation because there was not an issue of OG Hush that I
Mm.
didn't leave more excited about and wanting to know what came next. I was driving hours to get Hush when it was coming out. I was having people drive hours to get me issues because that weren't readily accessible back then.
Mm.
Like 2003 was the Wild Wild West out here, player. And like this, I'm like, you gave me a Hush issue with Jason Todd on the cover, and I went into it like I'm going into a public bathroom stall, not knowing what I'm going to get. I just want this to stick the landing. I want this to
Just
have
just
a
just awkward conversations and side glances.
yes, and that's what it is. That's what it feels like reading this book. It feels like there's been no growth in Dick Grayson or Barbara Gordon based on their conversations. It
Yeah, that was
ignores.
weird.
Listen, I get you want to rehash old properties, but read some old properties before you bring life to your old properties again. I'm gonna break my desk chair. Go ahead, tell your picks, shenanigans.
All right. Absolute Martian Manhunter. I am now feeling pretty much like this is going to be a banger. Like too deep.
I picked up issue one. I haven't read it yet.
Um, they're all weird, but they're starting to. I feel like they're. I think he is successfully taking us on a journey of as confused as the main character is about the Martian Manhunter and everything to understanding how that relates to the world. It's still super trippy. But this entire issue is kind of the journey of him understanding what the Martian Manhunter's abilities are and what that could do for him. And it still does the thing of like him being able to read all these different people's like independent thoughts, um, and different things and everything. And the the Mindhunter also can, go through all those thoughts and do them. So there's this dude that's like gone crazy and like spoiler slash trigger warning slash all the things like straight up straps up to go on the public shooting rampage. And it sounds like he thinks they're all aliens, which is interesting given the context of the story.
Right.
And the Martian, and he's literally doing oh, no, brain, don't do this now. Um, I gotta find the movie reference that I just completely dumped, but um, he feels like he can see who the aliens truly are and all that good stuff, and he's killing all of them because he's like, these are aliens. But the Martian Manhunter's like, oh, this dude's got some serious things going on. It's almost Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but that's not what I was talking about.
You're thinking about They Live?
There it is. Because he was straight up. He's got those sunglasses and everything, but he's literally doing the, you're an alien, die. And all the cops are like, this guy is shooting everybody. And the Martian Manhunter, like, literally goes into that dude's head. Like, there's literally. Um, and and pokes around and literally goes, oh, that's no good. Um, and a little later, he's like, "Oh, there it is." Finds it, takes it out, and like the guy snaps out of it at the end, and he's like, "Oh no." Um, and so there's a discussion because the main character is like, "All right, put the gun down. Something's not right." And he's talking to him, and a cop behind him shoots and kills the guy.
Of course.
Right, and so then they do the whole thing of, they said you just stood there and you were talking to this wacko when he was killing people. So it like this is heavy, but also like is unfolding the whole Martian Manhunter thing. But then like I think even crazier, like this is not a Tom King book. But wow, is like the arcs and the way that this guy's making things think is definitely. But so FBI guy goes home to his wife and she's basically like, "How's your day?" And he's like, "Good," and goes to sleep. Like doesn't talk about what happened and all that. And of course, the last panel is like the Martian Manhunter sleeping in the bed in the place of the guy. So there's all this back and forth that's going on. Like this is smart. Um
Not smart
and
comics.
yeah. Oh no, and it's from the big two. Who knew? Um I have a feeling this arc's going to potentially be way up there in terms of stuff like I was wearing my Mr. Miracle shirt the other day and people were like that someone out in the wild literally was like that was dope. And I was like, "Mhm." I was like, so people that know, no. What else you got?
Okay, this is not any kind of surprise. Because I think one
Is
of
it a
these,
DC book?
it's a DC book. I started with a Marvel book, sir. Sir. Um,
Fine.
Absolute Wonder Woman number whatever.
Which,
7.
whichever particular issue we are on at this moment.
Yeah, yeah, I feel like for the last year there's at least been a Wonder Woman or Absolute Wonder Woman book in all of my polls. I can't verify that because I don't want to. Um, it's not that we have it all in a spreadsheet where I can go back and look really quickly. Um,
Shh. Trade secrets.
yeah. Um, this was just dope storytelling. And hands down, it was like, and this is only a 2-issue arc. A 2-issue arc, you say? What? Yes, and that's wonderful. It's a 2-issue arc, and this arc's over, and it ended well. Um,
What a concept.
it's like they gave me 2 issues that told a whole story. What? Um, and it furthers the relationship of Wonder Woman with Circe as her mom, or Circe, or yeah. Um, and dude, this was just fantastic. When I read the last issue, I was concerned, but this was dope. And you also get some. Are you a fan of Lore Olympus or the Broadway musical Hadestown or Sandman?
That
B-
is an interesting triumvirate of media and fandom.
well, do you know what they all have in common? Those three things have very specific tie all three together. Lore Olympus, Hadestown, and Sandman.
Hades?
In a way, Hades and Persephone
Persephone. Hmm.
are, and Hades and his wife Persephone, which is like, and so this is Hades forcing Wonder Woman to battle for her mother's soul, but Persephone being the counterpart to it,
Got it.
to trying to like, uh, Lore Olympus is Hades and Persephone. They're the main characters, and in the story of Orpheus and Eurydice, they're the main characters of Hades Town and the son of Sandman. and their characters in Sandman as well. So they have a very Hades Town uh situation going on in this book. So
Probably not by accident.
oh, definitely not. Which I saw the Hades Town Broadway show. Whoa. Um, Fantastic. And the dude plays a live electric guitar throughout the whole show. That's bonkers. Crazy go nuts. All right, what you got?
I'm not going to spend a lot of time here, but I mentioned
I almost picked that up.
we're taking everyone down with us. It is a Rooks by Thriller, and I told you like it's weird because like the little girl with the robots and her dad, who's clearly a villain. Look, that whole thing continues to like fall apart. Weird. The spies, like this is definitely one of those who are the good guys kind of things. Like the guys that are supposed to be the good guys. Like this is very Austin Powers, but in a very less funny way. But like, the bad guys with the layers and everything, there's a gigantic evil villain network. They're all trying to kill each other, very clearly seems to be occurring. And pretty much where this entire thing is continuing to float down the range is that this little girl who did not know what her dad actually did, other than he was a scientist, evil scientist, and that literally the entire world wanted to kill him. She's slowly kind of coming into her own, so I think that's kind of where this is going. That she might become a villain too, or a good guy, or who knows. But there is multiple pages about a villain in here being very upset that he cannot locate his cape. Um,
Where's my super
and
suit?
right, well, no, it's the cape explicitly because he's trying to have something flow behind him while he's giving his evil
No, I'm
speech.
just saying it's the woman. Where's my super suit? Like,
So, it's sort of, and it's funny because like he was giving a speech to his henchmen, and it's like raining outside, and he goes, "This would have been perfect with a cape," kind of thing. And so this is weird, but like in all the good ways, because it's just weird, but it's got that '70s Bond type thing. Like that's the level of villain and villain organization you're dealing with. Is they all have like armies of henchmen, and they're all like different backgrounds and all that, and it's you don't really know what's going on yet still, except that everyone wanted to kill this girl's dad, but you don't really know why. um so and the good guys are kind of messed up. So there's a lot of fun kind of randomness occurring there. So I don't need to sell that any more than it's fun, it's interesting storytelling, and I'm pretty sure they give a hint on the back of every single issue because it says something usually in a different language. Um, I didn't take the time to look this week's up, but the last one was all in Latin and it was like the punchline of the book. So like there's clever stuff going on here.
okay.
My last two books are more interesting.
So, I'm gonna just give this one for the love of it, but
Hmm.
the question all along the Watchtower #6, it's the end of this storyline, and the Justice League Unlimited story wasn't great. Personally, it was okay. And the fact that it's led into this whole crossover thing makes me sad inside. Because it's not a great crossover. It feels something very Saturday morning cartoonish. But again, it's Justice League Unlimited, so Um, but this gives you the culmination story of the question and the question with Batwoman and fighting the Eradicator, the evil Superman, and saving the day. There's good question dialogue. There's interactions with the question and Charlie the question or Vic Sage the question. But it kind of gives you a solid place of where Renee Montoya is in the DC universe in All In because I felt she was wasted as the commissioner. I was like,
Mm,
y'all can do a lot better than leaving her as the commissioner of Gotham. Get out of here with that garbage. Um, because they turned her into like a Grey's Anatomy character, not a DC character.
yeah.
So I was happy to see her have a good storyline. So I'm just happy for Renee Montoya as the question. Another character I've got to watch the original version of progress on because like Red Hood and Renee both were dropping around about the same time. So it's been pretty cool. What you got?
Lost Fantasy. It is giant size number one from Image Comics. This is freaking weird, but I like it. Um, Basically, we kind of get introduced to some absolute violent nonsense in the beginning that happens, and then this being kind of just shows up, splash the title, and then they tell you how the heck we got here. And the short version is, let's see. I want to see because they kind of give like the history of it all, but somewhere around the early 1900s, we find out that there is this fantasy place that I believe. Well, it's not really clear if it's a parallel or if it's like a Hollow Earth thing or whatever, but it's one of the two. But so look at that. It's like Theodore Roosevelt, and he's getting a tour of this place. It's called Terra, and like magic and like crazy fantasy stuff like exists there. So dragons and crazy stuff, and so we do government things, and we sign some agreements that say, hey, there's this place. We should be aware of it, and be careful of it. And they give us a whole alternate history of how these things work, but basically they say that at Versailles at the end of World War One, like buried deep in the text is also the peace agreement between us and Terra, um, and all that good stuff, and that throughout the years there were houses that were called as protectors, basically to protect between the two, um, and to keep track of whenever there's crossover and everything. Enter back into real time, and that's kind of your story. Is that we have a protagonist that clearly is one of the protectors slash people that understands the crossover of the two worlds, and we're unfolding the story from there.
Kind of a Land of the Lost vibe.
Yeah, kinda, but with dragons and swords and magic, and so I don't know. It's kind of cool. It's cool. They can mess this up. There's plenty of comics that mess this up after I go, oh, that's really good idea. And then by issue 2, I'm like, what did you do? Who put this on a whiteboard and decided that's what you wanted to do?
I literally didn't pick up a book this week because when I looked at it, I was like, this is one of Chris's number ones.
Was
Like,
that it?
no,
Or is it my number one?
it might be your number one.
Probably.
But I was like, this one's gonna be one of Chris's number ones. I'm not gonna not that you would pick it, but you would pick it and then it would suck after the first one.
Mm.
That's what I
Well,
was like, and that was what I was saying. I was like, I bet this is one of those ones that turns out to be sucky.
it's so annoying to me. So on that note, Amazing Spider-Man number 2 almost made this list. I really wanted it to be okay. It's still mostly okay, but I feel like this actually outweighed it. So maybe it's my honorable mention of it's still fun, restarted Peter Parker and everything, but also no, they ruined it on the last page. That's why I put it down. Yeah. No, like the art's still really good, everything. And then they kind of are like, hi, do you remember this character that we probably told you about when I wasn't reading and I didn't care? And I'm like, nope, care even less now that I see him. So that.
Okay.
What's your number one?
Uh, s-
I like my number one.
so my number one that I didn't actually read. Um, it's not my pick. I'm just saying, like, I had two options. I was gonna pick one up, and if the one didn't satisfy me to make the list, then I was gonna buy another one on
Got
digital
you.
because there were no number ones that I wanted other than yours, um, at the comic shop, and I just decided not to get the one that you picked. But my one I didn't get was Kid Juggernaut number one.
Did not see that.
There's a Kid Juggernaut number one. It's a one shot. I don't know anything about it except there's Juggernaut fighting a smaller Juggernaut.
Oh, I did see that, and I was like, no.
Yeah,
Never
see
mind.
that was
Yeah.
my backup, which is why it was my backup. Um, but there is a my number one, which I did pick. Now, and to be fair, I didn't necessarily love it,
Mhm.
but I only read one number one, so by default, it gets it. um,
Congratulations, you're it.
you're it. Um, Wolverine and Kitty Pryde number one.
Oh,
See, that sounds good. and I'm a big fan of Kitty Pryde, especially the recent Kitty Pryde. But do you know what this book is?
No.
This is an untold Chris Claremont story. Yeah, I see your eyes darting. Yeah. This is
Hmm.
an untold Chris Claremont story that fits in some of his other stories. This was a story that went in between them that never got told. So Chris Claremont
Ooh.
is
Is he
dropping,
credited?
he's the writer.
Okay.
Chris Claremont is writing a 2025 Wolverine and Kitty Pryde story that fits in his old storylines.
Heck yeah.
And it'll tell you exactly which ones it fits between.
Huh.
Um, but it's when Wolverine and Kitty Pryde are in Japan training her to be like ninja-ish. Dealing with her father, which I don't think I'd ever met Kitty Pryde's father before. And like and Yuriko is there and all this other stuff's going down. But it's her being trained to be a ninja, and then they get sucked into a world, they get sucked into like feudal Japan in the snow at the end of the book. Um, but this is a Chris Claremont story. It's reading Chris Claremont with Chris Claremont looking art. I don't know who did the art. The name didn't pop off in my head, but it looks like something that would have straight come out of the 70s. But I double checked. It's new. Because there is old Wolverine and Kitty Pryde from back in the day, but this
Yep.
is Wolverine and Kitty Pryde number one, 2025, one of six.
Stand by. Yeah. Hmm. And I'm trying to see.
I made sure it wasn't like a reprint or
No, no, it's listed as 2025. What I was gonna see is yoink. Oh, stop it. Maybe I won't be disappointed when. Okay, it is a five. It's a five-part mini. I was checking to see if it was an ongoing because when I went to Marvel itself, it didn't say. But when you look up the solicitation, it'll always tell you of.
yeah. So there you go.
Some of the variant covers that are coming for some of the future ones are pretty dope.
Yeah, and the covers were fire, but I'm not buying something just for a cover either.
No, but I'm just saying, like, there's a couple that are probably dope. That's pretty cool. All right, cool. So that's the sale point.
Yeah, so like if you listen, it's not going to be the greatest X-Men thing you've ever read, but if you like Chris Claremont and you like that style of storytelling and you want to see a new story from one of the living legends of comic books while they're
Yup.
breathing,
Yup.
pick up the book.
Do the thing.
Now, it's going to read like you straight out of the 70s again, but, it is that way. So,
All right. It is not going to come as a surprise.
oh, I have one more DC news thing that I just realized that's what I was thinking of. Before you tell your news, hold on, sorry. Or your thing. Um, DC has canceled their first movie that they had slated.
Ooh. Oops.
Um, yeah. Sergeant Rock,
Aw.
which was originally attached to Daniel Craig as Sergeant Rock, and he passed on it, and then they were considering Colin Farrell. That apparently would have been a thing, but they've officially scrapped the movie as of today,
Womp womp.
so it will not be happening.
Womp womp.
All right, carry on.
Vatican City.
Yeah, I just couldn't.
But did you know what it was about?
No.
So good. Slash so bad.
Yeah, go ahead and tell me.
Okay. So I'm trying to see if I could show any of this without edit.
Oh gosh,
Maybe
like that.
maybe not. Well, it's not super. Oh, actually, that's really bad. I was just like, maybe nope, that's a person's insides. Um, yeah. So, it's a vampire book.
Not surprised. Okay.
Yeah. So, um, vampires show up. They basically talk about how night came early in the United States by like a couple hours, and everybody died. And they like literally talk about this timeline at the beginning of this book, and they're like, hour one, like New Jersey fell. Two hours later, New York fell, and that pretty much the U.S. went dark. And then they, jump over to the Vatican, the Vatican,
Yeah, yeah.
and a dude who is applying
As
to
opposed
be
to a Vatican. Yeah,
a
we got it.
Vatican, right? So at Vatican City, a dude that showed up for an interview to join the Swiss Guard.
What is that?
The Swiss Guard,
Mm-hmm.
literally the security forces of Vatican City. They're the dudes that literally wear that uniform.
Didn't know that was a thing. Go on.
Really? You should Google that. It's interesting.
No, I'm good.
Because usually it is literally people of Swiss descent because of their history of being neutral, and a whole bunch of other stuff. But they wear very silly outfits, and they have pike poles with very sharp, pointy ends, and it's a really hard gig to get. But yeah, that's their security force slash all the other stuff. Like Vatican is an independent country and all that. Like stuff's crazy. But anyway, vampire book. um, Whole world falls. A bunch of see if I can find it because it was kind of weird. Oh yeah. Vampires apparently, if they just wear clothing that covers everything and sunglasses, aren't affected by sunlight.
All right.
Okay. So that's how they moved around during the day, but they're definitely weaker, so they don't do like as much nonsense. Night falls at the Vatican, but it's the whole thing of that they can't actually step foot onto any of the property that is Vatican City because
It's
holy
holy.
ground. Yeah,
Yeah.
holy ground. Um,
Supposedly. I'm just
yeah,
kidding.
so as they say, as the papists say. Um, but they have familiars that are not vampires, but are loyal to them, right? And I'm like, I see what you're starting to unfold there. So, these people start like messing people up inside the Vatican. And finally, like this dude that's there for his interviews, like, what can I do? He's gonna, be the silent hero. Basically, I heard somebody say this is Die Hard, but with vampires in the Vatican, and I'm starting to see the setup as I just literally said all that. Because he's already on the inside. He was there for some other reason. He's there for a Christmas party. Um, he's gonna crawl around in some ducks in the Vatican and kill vampires. Um,
Okay.
but the end of the book literally is him basically being the why is he here? And like a bunch of cardinals are like, for their queen, duh. Blink, blink. Who is buried directly below the Vatican because it's surrounded by holy ground so that they can't get back to, the queen mother of all vampires and everything because if she gets resurrected, nothing good happens, obviously, if that happens. But familiars aren't vampires, so they can attack the Vatican, and that's the end of the first book.
Okay. All
Mark
right.
Miller.
Mark
Mark
Miller.
Miller. Yep.
Not
That
surprising.
yeah, I mean 100% checks out. But hold on. Yeah, I'll show that page again. Lots of neat panel stuff. That's kind of your art vibe. Sorry, I can't show you
It
a
is.
whole lot
Yeah.
because nope, that's nope. Yeah. Hmm. Actually, towards the end.
Don't do it.
Yeah, no. Sorry. Sorry, fam. Read the book. Lots of blood, vampires, like one does.
Or the movie Sinners. Either way.
Yeah. I mean, hey, vampires are in right now. Again, sort of. So that's what I got. And I guess that's gonna do it for us. That's a podcast.
Well, now we have to at least do an a cappella version of a Reach song because it's 116 episode.
Yeah, let's
So
do it. Just kidding. That's a wrap. That's the Pull This
I wanted to
podcast.
do Andy Mineo. Or at least Lecrae. Come on, some KB. Back when he was on Reach Records. Come on.
Aw,
Oh,
coming in hot. No,
that might be Reach. Yeah, that's still Reach.
it's both of them.
Yeah, but Andy is minor league.
Yeah, that's fair. So, that's a podcast. That's episode 116. It's in the books. It's in your ears. It's in your eyeballs if you watch us for some silly reason. Or, I mean, I don't know. We're entertaining, right? Probably not. Probably the edit that Matt puts in on this because
Matt's editing qualities and such.
yeah, it's
whole
great.
team
The
does a great job.
The last intro section was popping. You have to go back and just watch the first couple minutes of the last episode. It was kind of fun. I see what you did there, Matt. I see you. And we appreciate you, just like Hector said. So, yep, you can go and watch us on the YouTubes, hit subscribe, and you'll never miss us.
I bought a new camera and a new adapter since the last time.
So there's not like, but yeah, as always, we are absolutely honored to take this ride of nerdiness along with all the other wonderful people over at the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network. You can hit lovethynerd.com to catch previous episodes of our show, other shows, Hector's like 47,000 shows, and just everything and anything in between. Stuff on tabletops. There's wrestling shows over there, like we were just saying. So if you're listening to us, go over there and listen. Yeah, so it's all good. You'll catch all those things. There's great shows, and and Matt does some of that stuff. So the guy that like makes us look good, like also is pretty entertaining and interesting in and of his own. And this has been. Thank you for watching the Matt Thy Nerd Network because he's amazing. No,
it's Love Thy Matt.
Yeah, Love Thy Matt. There it is. Nailed it.
We need to take the Love Thy logo like that and just put Matt's little cartoon face over that.
Yeah, just put it like right there.
Love Thy Matt. Yes.
Hey, edit that in for this end of this episode, Matt. Right there. There you go. You're welcome.
Put it for the whole episode.
Right,
just affix it to that point on Chris's shirt.
Right. So everyone's listening / watching for an entire hour, and it doesn't make sense until literally the outro.
It'd be even better if like little animated Matt's just like winking or blinking as
right
you're
the
talking.
whole time.
The whole time.
What's going on?
Make it so.
Make it happen. So thanks for putting up with our shenanigans. We do this for you. It's for viewers like you. So
and proud sponsors of your PBS stations.
Mm-hmm. It is possible because of
Since
your
the government
donations.
doesn't love Sesame Street.
Womp womp. Oh,
sunny days, eh?
Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But hit up lovethynerd.com, learn more about the other shows that are on the Love Thy Nerd Podcast Network. We can't do any of this without them. It's why I'm rocking the shirt, the OG shirt too. So seriously, thanks for listening. We love all you guys. But remember, kids, read more comics. It's super serial.